Hi everyone and welcome back. We're reading Famous Five, Five on Kirrin Island, and we're on chapter 5, which is called A Mystery. Everyone stared at Uncle Quentin. There he was, intently watching the jackdaws, his hands in his pockets. He hadn't seen the children or his wife. Timmy leapt to his feet and gambolled over to George's father. He barked loudly. Uncle Quentin jumped and turned round. He saw Timmy and then he saw all the others, staring at him in real astonishment. Uncle Quentin did not look particularly pleased to see anyone. He walked slowly over to them, a slight frown on his face. "This is a surprise," he said. "I had no idea you were all coming today." "Oh, Quentin," said his wife reproachfully. "I wrote it down for you in your diary. You know I did." "Did you? Well, I haven't looked at my diary since, so it's no wonder I forgot," said Uncle Quentin, a little peevishly. He kissed his wife, George and Anne, and shook hands with the boys. "Uncle Quentin, where did you come from?" asked Dick, who was eaten up with curiosity. "We've looked for you for ages." "Oh, I was in my workroom," said Uncle Quentin vaguely. "But where's that?" demanded Dick. "Honestly, Uncle, we can't imagine where you hide yourself. We even went up the tower to see if you were in that funny glass room at the top." "What?" exploded his uncle in a sudden surprising fury. "You dared to go up there? You might have been in great danger. I've just finished an experiment and all those wires in there were connected with it." "Yes, we saw them acting a bit queerly," said Julian. "You've no business to come over here and interfere with my work," said his uncle, still looking furious. "How did you get into that tower? I locked it." "Yes, it was locked all right," said Julian, "but you left the key in, you see, Uncle, so I thought it wouldn't matter if—" "Oh, that's where the key is it?" said his uncle. "I thought I'd lost it. Well, don't you ever go into that tower again, I tell you, it's dangerous." "Uncle Quentin, you haven't told us yet where your workroom is," said Dick, who was quite determined to know. "Can't imagine where you suddenly came from." "I told them you would turn up, Quentin," said his wife. "You look a bit thin, dear. Have you been having regular meals? You know, I left you plenty of good soup to heat up." "Did you?" said her husband. "Well, I don't know if I've had it or not. I don't worry about meals when I'm working. I'll have some of those sandwiches now, though, if nobody else wants them." He began to devour the sandwiches one after another as if he was ravenous. Aunt Fanny watched him in distress. "Oh, Quentin, you're starving. I shall come over here and stay and look after you." Her husband looked alarmed. "Oh, no, nobody is to come here. I can't have my work interfered with. I'm working on an extremely important discovery." "Is it a discovery that nobody else knows about?" asked Anne, her eyes wide with admiration. How clever Uncle Quentin was. "Well, I'm not sure about that," said Uncle Quentin, taking 2 sandwiches at once. "That's partly why I came over here, besides the fact that I wanted water round me and above me. I have a feeling that somebody knows a bit more than I want them to know. But there's one thing. They can't come here unless they're shown the way through all those rocks that lie round the island. Only a few of the fishermen know that, and they've been given orders not to bring anyone here at all. I think you're the only other person that knows the way, George." "Uncle Quentin, please do tell us where your workroom is," begged Dick, feeling that he could not wait a single moment more to solve the mystery. "Don't keep bothering your uncle," said his aunt annoyingly. "Let him eat his lunch. He can't have had anything for ages." "Yes, but Aunt Fanny, began Dick, and was interrupted by his uncle. "You obey your aunt, young man. I don't want to be pestered by any of you. What does it matter where I work?" "Oh, it doesn't really matter a bit, sir," said Dick hurriedly. "It's only that I'm awfully curious to know. You see, we looked for you simply everywhere." "Well, you're not quite so clever as you thought you were then," said Uncle Quentin, and reached for a jammy bun. "George, take this dog of yours away from me. He keeps breathing down my neck, hoping I shall give him a titbit. I don't approve of titbits at meal times." George pulled Timmy away. Her mother watched her father gobbling up the rest of the food. Most of the sandwiches she had saved for tea time had gone already. Oh, Quentin, how very hungry he must be. "Quentin, you don't think there's any danger for you here, do you?" she said. "I mean, you don't think anyone will try to come spying on you as they did once before?" "No, how could they?" said her husband. "No plane can land on this island, no boat can get through the rocks unless the way through is known, and the sea is too rough round the rocks for any swimmer." Julian, see if you can make him promise to signal to me night and morning, said his Aunt Fanny, turning to her nephew. I feel worried about him somehow. Julian tackled his uncle manfully. Uncle, it wouldn't be too much of a bother to you to signal to Aunt Fanny twice a day, would it? If you don't, Quentin, I shall come over every single day to see you, said his wife. And we might come too, said Anne mischievously. Her uncle looked most dismayed at the idea. Well, I could signal in the morning and in the evening when I go up to the top of the tower, he said. I have to go up once every 12 hours to readjust the wires. I'll signal then. 10:30 in the morning and 10:30 at night. How will you signal? Asked Julian. Will you flash with the mirror in the morning? Yes, that would be quite a good idea, said his uncle. I could do that easily. And I'll use a lantern at night. I'll shine it out 6 times at 10:30. Then perhaps you'll all know I'm all right and will leave me alone. But don't look for the signal tonight. I'll start tomorrow morning. Quentin, dear, you do sound cross, said his wife. I don't like you being all alone here, that's all. You look thin and tired. I'm sure you're not. Uncle Quentin put on a scowl exactly like George sometimes put on. He looked at his wristwatch. Well, I must go, he said. Time to get to work again. I'll see you to your boat. We're going to stay to tea here, Father, said George. No, I'd rather you didn't, said her father, getting up. Come on, I'll take you to your boat. But Father, I haven't been on my island for ages, said George indignantly. I want to stay here a bit longer. I don't see why I shouldn't. Well, I've had enough interruption to my work, said her father. I want to get on. We shan't disturb you, Uncle Quentin, said Dick, who was still terribly curious to know where his uncle had his workroom. Why wouldn't he tell them? Was he just being annoying, or didn't he want them to know? Uncle Quentin led them all firmly towards the little cove. It was plain that he meant them to go, and to go quickly. When shall we come over and see you again, Quentin? Asked his wife. Not till I say so, said her husband. It won't take me long now to finish what I'm on. My word, that dog's got a rabbit at last. Oh, Timmy, yelled George in distress. Timmy dropped the rabbit he had actually managed to grab. It scampered away unhurt. Timmy came to his mistress looking very sheepish. You're a very bad dog, just because I took my eye off you for half a second. No, it's no good licking my hand like that. I'm cross. They all came to the boat. I'll push her off, said Julian. Get in, all of you. Well, goodbye, Uncle Quentin. I hope your work goes well. Everyone got into the boat. Timmy tried to put his head on George's knee, but she pushed it away. Oh, be kind to him and forgive him, begged Anne. He looks as if he's going to cry. Are you ready? Cried Julian. Got the oars, George? Dick, take the other pair. He shoved the boat off and leapt in himself. He cupped his hands round his mouth. Don't forget to signal, sir. We'll be watching out morning and evening. And if you forget, I shall come over the very next day, called his wife. The boat slid away down the little inlet of water, and Uncle Quentin was lost to sight. Then round the low wall of rocks went the boat, and was soon on the open sea. Ju, watch out and see if you can make out where Uncle Quentin is when we're round these rocks, said Dick. See what direction he goes in. Julian tried to see his uncle, but the rocks just there hid the cove from sight, and there was no sign of him at all. Why didn't he want us to stay? Because he didn't want us to know his hiding place, said Dick. And why doesn't he want us to know? Because it's somewhere we don't know either. But I thought we knew every single corner of my island, said George. I think it's mean of Father not to tell me if it's somewhere I don't know. I can't think where it can be. Timmy put his head on her knee again. George was so absorbed in trying to think where her father's hiding place could be that she absent-mindedly stroked Timmy's head. He was almost beside himself with delight. He licked her fingers lovingly. Oh, Timmy, I didn't mean to pet you for ages, said George. Stop licking my hands. You make them feel wet and horrid. Dick, it's very mysterious, isn't it? Where can Father be hiding? I can't imagine, said Dick. He looked back at the island. A cloud of jackdaws rose up into the air, calling loudly, "Chack, chack, chack." The boy watched them. What had disturbed them? Was it Uncle Quentin? Perhaps his hiding place was somewhere about that old tower then, the one the jackdaws nested in. On the other hand, the jackdaws often rose into the air together for no reason at all. Those jackdaws are making a bit of a fuss, he said. Perhaps Uncle's hiding place is not far from where they roost together, by that tower. Can't be, said Julian. We went all round there today. Well, it's a mystery, said George gloomily. But I think it's horrible having a mystery about my very own island and to be forbidden to go to it and solve it. It's really too bad. And that's the end of chapter 5. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.